Hello and welcome to the next episode of our Bullshit Bunker. Now, I couldn't resist doing this one because I was asked by a client to have a look at the new F45 8-week challenge. Now, it's important to note before we get started is this is not an attack on F45 or the exercises they do. That is not my area. That is not my lane of expertise. I am talking about the nutrition side of this 8-week program. So now, the first 2 weeks of this challenge are all about detoxing and alkalizing the body. So the big thing here, and if you've watched our previous BS video, detox is actually not necessary. So our body, our liver and kidneys in particular, are extremely good at removing toxins that are naturally found in foods and basically the daily environment that we're in. So we don't actually need to restrict our food or change our food to allow ourselves to actually detox. The next thing that they recommend is alkalizing the body. Now, the pH in our body is very heavily controlled by a lot of really technical mechanisms by the body to stay within a pH that fits everyday functions for the body. Now, our body is actually very good at changing the pH. So what happens is the acidity of your urine changes up and down depending on what foods you've eaten. Do we need to eliminate meats and dairy and what else was it? No tomatoes, those types of things to achieve an alkaline state within the body? No, that's BS. Now, the interesting thing is that they recommend an alkaline state, but in the same breath, they recommend having lemon water for the morning drink. So that's really interesting because lemon water, last I checked, had a very acidic pH of around 2 to 3. Now, on the same page as detox, the very interesting thing to note is that they say the symptoms of your detox, which will be irritability, poor sleep quality, fatigue, are all really positive signs because those signs are actually signs that your liver is doing the right thing and detoxing and removing toxins. No, those symptoms are actually all about being in an extreme energy deficit, changing your diet completely, and still probably trying to train at the 5 times a week at high intensity exercise that they've recommended. So no, they're not signs of your body doing a good thing. They are actually signs of your body being in an extreme deficit. Now, the thing that they tout is that you're going to get really big gains in the first 2 weeks. Now, the good thing is that they appreciate that that's water weight and water retention. Now, the reason that is that we're actually storing water weight when we store muscle glycogen or muscle carbohydrate. So by restricting your diet and still exercising, what you're doing is taking away all that storage of muscle and with it, removing a lot of the water weight. For each gram of carbohydrate you store 3 grams of water. So of course, when you're restricting intake, eating below your minimum energy requirements, you're going to find that you're going to lose a lot of weight initially. And that brings you into that second phase. Now, the second phase of their program is all about basically trying to increase lean mass and reduce body fat. Now, if anyone's tried to do that at the same time, you'll know that the ways to do that in terms of nutrition are actually conflicting. So you need to be in an energy excess to build lean mass, and you need to be in an energy deficit to lose body fat. So doing both at the same time is a little bit counterintuitive. So now the thing about the last section is they then try and overcomplicate it again by adding in another buzzword, which is keto. So keto, your high fat, low carb type of eating, is called their fat burning or fat blaster kind of 2-week stage to really strip off body fat by the end of the 8 weeks. Now, I am totally okay with low carb eating in the right sense. Now, what this is doing though is it's totally overcomplicating it for the client that's only there for 8 weeks. So we're going through 3 different fad diets within 8 weeks really. Now, the big thing of why this works is that each phase is well and truly in an energy deficit. So a female is really only going to meet the average female's basic metabolic rate if they were just asleep all day, and same for the male. So this isn't working because of the lemon water, because of the alkalizing or the detoxing or the change in high fat, low carb. This is changing because you're in an energy deficit and they're still recommending exercising at least 5 times a week in that F45 high intensity scenario. Now that brings me to the next point. Now, in that high fat, low carb state at the end of the 2 weeks, they're still recommending that really intense way of exercise. Now, it's really important to note that the key energy when you're at that intensity and at that heart rate is actually carbohydrate and muscle glycogen. So I'm not sure how the performance will go in participants for that 2 weeks, but it really doesn't complement their whole business model, which I find really intriguing. And now to the intro video on their app. Now, some of the things like you need to have protein supplements to be able to lose body fat. That is inaccurate. You can absolutely lose body fat without needing supplements and without supplementing with protein. That is BS. Another thing, your goal in exercise is to sweat. Now, I'm sorry, but if that's the only reason you're exercising, you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons. Additional to that, they claim that the more you sweat, the more you burn, and the more you sweat, the more toxins you release. Now, most of the toxins that you release are from the liver and kidney, not from sweat. Yes, you lose a small amount from sweat, but that is not correlated to sweat loss overall. Now, another really important little fun fact that they obviously didn't know when making the video is that often the fitter you are, the higher your sweat rate. And obviously when you're fitter, chances are you're not burning as many calories, so their whole fact around more sweat, more calories is actually inaccurate. If you are currently doing that 8-week program, please don't feel like you need to stop or doubt yourself. This is more just an education video, so you know that you don't need to detox. You don't need to alkalize your body. If your goal is health and energy and performance, this is not the 8 weeks for you. Cheers.